Welcome back, adventurers, to Let's Play Riven, the sequel to Myst. And when last we left off, I was glaring at this puzzle that traumatized me when I was a child many years ago. But now I've taken the time to calm down, clear my thoughts, and think about this both logically and rationally. So, we have these 6 colours that are based on the Dunny symbology, but we only need to use 5 of them because Gen is heavily obsessed with the number of 5 and believes it to be a major part of Dunny culture, at least in his mind. Whether this is actually the case in reality remains to be seen. Now, as I mentioned before, each of these fire marbles, which are rather interesting Dunny devices by the way. But anyway, these fire marbles each represent one of the 5 domes, which contains one of 5 linking books to Gen's 233rd age. Now I've had a look through my notes and comparing Gen's symbology, the symbols that Gen wrote down in his journal, and the color of the eyes that we saw in the survey island, I've narrowed down 2 of the colors, since I only really explored 2 of the domes while on Riven, which were the Temple Island and the Boiler Island. Now the Temple Island, you may remember the eye being a dot in the middle of an open eye. Now that eye symbol was represented by the color green. Now don't worry, this is not actually where the fire marble is meant to go. I'm just placing it there so that I remember where it is. I don't have to recheck it. And I've narrowed. You may remember that there was one that didn't have a light, which was the circle with the cat's eye in it. That one is for the Boiler Island, if you remember, the second dome that I explored. And having a look through my notes, I have eliminated that the Boiler Island dome is in fact the purple one. Now, as you recall, I did not examine the Survey Island dome, nor did I examine the Jungle Eye dome when I had the chance. And as for the fifth one, we're going to have to find that out by a process of elimination. We will come back to that because we need to solve that puzzle in all haste. But we need to go under the dome, under the golden dome that is, and return to the Boiler Island. And from there, I shall return to the Jungle Island first, because I need to return to the Survey Island in order to look at that apparatus again, that survey device which shows a replica of each of the islands of Riven, and which will also show where the domes are, because you need to be precise. I believe I mentioned this in the previous video. If one of those, if you have the wrong color, or if you're even remotely 1 square off from where the dome actually is, the mechanism will not work. And is this the right way? I hope it is, because otherwise I have to use the tram. Nope, it is. We're in luck. This is the way back, and there's the dome that we had a look at previously. Now we're back here again under the under the giant golden dome, which houses the mechanism. This appears to be built right underneath that particular puzzle, and when the circuit is completed, when the puzzle is solved, through this apparatus here, to each of the 5 islands, power will be generated to each of the domes, which means that we can create a link to, we'll be able to link through to the 233rd age, and possibly confront Gen. Now, as I said before, you need to return to the jungle island first, so I'm going there via the boiler island. I know I could have gone through the by means of the tram, but as I need to get back to the survey island as well, we need to go this way. Now, if you recall, there was a mechanism by the minecart, so I'm turning the lever to give pressure leading back this way to this mechanism. Let's see what it does. I know you can go. I know you can go through the through there, that ladder there, but I want to see. I actually want to see where what that mechanism does. So if we let's see what it does. Oh dear. That does not look promising. That is a death trap. Probably another one of Gen's security measures. So that's what that does. It's a rather elaborate death trap. But anyway, as I said before, we can return to the minecart up here, and we'll pull the lever and go back the way. We'll go the opposite way this time, from the boiler island to the jungle island. I always liked this minecart. I always thought it was pretty interesting. And there's the jungle island. We go through the tunnel of water once again. That is kept away by these heat rings, creating a kind of semi-natural tunnel of sorts because of the bacteria in the water. And we're now back in the proper tunnel. It appears to be rather steep up here, so the minecart is going into overtime in order to get back to this island of Riven. And we're now back to where the minecart was originally stationed here on the jungle island. We can get out and have a look around the jungle island once again. And we need to head back to the wooden idol and go up and mark down the eye symbol, because that is important. We need to know what that eye symbol is. The stairs open, and we can head on up through the elevator again. But first, we're going to close the mouth so that no one can follow us at the moment unless someone else decides to push that switch. And up we go. Nice wooden elevator. Head on over to this dome over here, or rather to the viewing platform. We need to know which. Well, you have to press when the yellow, because each of the eyes is marked in yellow. And that's that eye, the kind of semi-slit, semi-open eye, which is the first one that's marked on my notes, because I've marked them down in the order that Gen did in his journal. So the Jungle Island eye, from my notes, it's the red marble, the red fire marble, which is very handy. I suppose I could, I suppose I could close all the domes again and leave them spinning before, but I'm not going to. Gen and his people have a little bit of paranoia. Anyway, open the mouth of the idol again, and back down here. We will shut that because we have no real need to return to that dome anymore, because we can just use basically we can just link to the age through any of the 5 books on any of the islands of Riven, so we only need to use one of them, since we are alone and don't really have anyone else to help us at the moment. And speaking of which, when we find and rescue Catherine, we may have an ally of sorts. If we can actually get to the location where she is, which will be very important. I love this tunnel. This going through here, I could go through this tunnel for hours and still be amazed at how beautiful. Because Riven is beautiful. It's kind of a paradox that such a convoluted, contradictory style of dunny writing could produce such a wonderful, complex, multi-layered world, or a link to a complex, multi-layered world of sorts. But thanks to Gen and his rather faulty writing, Riven, like so many of his other ages, will unfortunately die needlessly. Now we're back here on the Boiler Island, not the Jungle Island. We just came from there. And if we return to Gen's study that we were in earlier, we won't go through via the fan. We'll just go straight through the front door this time, because we've already climbed through enough tunnels as it is. So back through this way, through the other side of Gen's study, and now back to the survey island. So what we need to do is recall the dome, not the dome, the tram. We actually need to do that in Gen's study, because for some reason the platform recall is placed in the middle of Gen's study rather than, well, next to the entrance. We'll just wait for it to show up, and believe that's enough time now. Should be plenty of time for the tram to have made its way back to the island. There it is. Now we go to the survey island. First to have a look at the final dome that we can access at this point. While we wait for the tram to do its thing and turn around. And on to the survey island. So now we're back on the survey island, but I want to turn around here so that we can go through that door, because it's pretty much the only door that we can go through at this point. So we need to wait for the tram to open up again before we can leave. Yeah, say what you will about linking books. They're efficient, they're quick, but you always need one to get anywhere, and you always need an extra one if you want to get back from somewhere. These trams, I like them. They may be crude and very industrial, but I actually rather like them. So when we return, adventurers, we shall head on up to the surface of the survey island and find the fourth eye symbol, and we shall have another look, a closer examination at the survey apparatus as well. So as always, until next we meet.